Hello, welcome to the clearing. This is Katherine May, and I am just getting into 2026 a little later than everyone else because I took a bit of a holiday right at the beginning of the year, mainly to avoid everyone's New Year's resolutions. I'm back just as the fervour is dying down. Oh, I'm also climbing some stairs. I'm not sure this is wise while I'm recording a podcast intro. And I'm playing catch up. But actually, I really needed a bit of a slower start this year. It's done me the world of good. I'm feeling optimistic. And I'm taking myself out for a little damp January walk to go and see the sea, make sure it's still there. It's important to check, I find. I hope you're all doing very well indeed, and that the world hasn't been too much of a shock this year. It's been a rough start, hasn't it? We're all still gazing at this kind of overheating planet in all senses of the word, trying to figure out how the hell we approach it. There's a lot more to come, and it makes me feel really certain that a focus on rest is more important than ever. Rest is the only way we'll sustain the energy to get through this. And if we don't actively figure out how to rest in these times, how to retain our energy, it won't come to us unbidden, that's for sure. It begins to feel like a bit of a mission. Never begin a podcast climbing a big set of stairs. That's a top tip for you. So, I'm here to introduce this week's guest, who is my good friend, Kaitlin Curtice. She is an Indigenous American writer who spends a lot of her time speaking, writing the Liminality Journal on Substack, and generally, I think it's fair to say, extolling her own brand of very gentle, kind activism, bearing witness to the ills of the world, but also working to figure out how we can make greater contact with the landscape around us, and how we can, I guess I'd say, feel more fully human in that context. It was so nice to talk to her, and I loved that she had this beautiful, still, calm image ready-made for us in her head, a place that she's been retreating to for a long time. It's so fascinating exploring those kind of fantasy worlds that all of my different guests have. Every single person has been different so far, and I love that. I really wondered when I began this podcast if everyone was going to basically say the same thing, you know, if there was going to be an archetype that all people fell into. But that hasn't been the case at all. It's been so interesting to me to dig into all of these different worlds and to feel the rest come out of them. Anyway, that's enough from me, but do take a listen to Kaitlin. It's a very calming conversation, and I'll be back later, hopefully a bit less out of breath.
Kaitlin, welcome to The Clearing. It is so lovely to have you here.
Oh, thank you. I'm so happy to be here with you.
How does the world find you today? Are you feeling well rested, or are you in need of a bit of a break?
I think I dance between the two, but today has been really nice. I have a local coffee shop that I go to twice a week, and I go on Mondays because it helps me start the week to get up and get dressed, and the kids go to school and I go to the coffee shop and write for 2 hours or so. And it really is a nice, slow but work at the same time. But it's a really, I love this coffee shop, and it's become a really wonderful routine and ritual for me. So that really gives me a lot of just like love and care to my week.
That's lovely. Yeah. I think writers often have to create their own routines, in order to find their way into the week. I think we often, we get very attached to these places that we go to because it replicates that journey to an office where you get that severance between yourself, actually, not like the TV series Severance, hopefully, but that break between your home self and your work self. I think it's really important.
Yeah, and it can take a while to find it. It took me... I don't have any coffee shops really close by, so I have to go to other little, suburbs or neighborhoods around me and trying to find one where you feel comfortable, where you can keep showing up. It takes a while sometimes, so.
It's got to be exactly the right one. Everything's got to feel exactly.
Unfortunately. I wish I was less picky.
Yeah, that's right, yeah. Wish I could just fit in anywhere, but no, apparently not. Sensitive souls we are. Are you the kind of person who takes themselves away from it all, takes retreats, takes breaks, takes rests, or are you challenged by that idea?
I love being alone and having alone time. And so that, I think the biggest constraint for me has always been, of course, finances and perhaps time.
Yeah.
But
dream budget for all of this would be.
Yes, but I do love retreating, and I love being able to hold space for myself away from daily routine. And I also love that it makes me really grateful to return to it. To come back home again and say, "Oh, I did miss." Even if the pace is more chaotic with family and life, I did miss this, and I like coming back to it. It's a nice dance, and it's taken me a long time to appreciate the dance, but I do more now, I think, as my kids are older. But I really do love retreat. Yeah.
Well, I think you're going to have lots of insights for us today, because I know you are someone that does go on some pretty wonderful sounding retreats. So let me welcome you to The Clearing, which is a landscape of your choice in which you can come and rest and restore and just drink back whatever it is you need, whatever's lacking. Describe this landscape for me. Where are you going to take us?
So the first thing that came to mind for me is actually a safe place that my consciousness created during COVID, and has remained this really beautiful place. I am someone who wakes up at 2 or 3 in the morning and my mind just goes. It just goes with anything, I could be, writing projects, things I'm worried about, a random to-do list for a week down the road that I just happen to think about. So sometimes it really takes me a while to get back to sleep. And during COVID, of course, it also brought the anxiety of the world and the things happening in the world, and safety and all of those those moments that were just really hard to try to get over. And I remember really starting this practice then, and had kind of one place in my head, and it was really interesting because my being, my inner world, took me to this other one and just created it for me. And one night it just showed up,
Wow.
and So I thought I'd share about that because it's really special for me and it surprised me. So this place is a seaside cottage, which of all the different sort of elements or places to be in, we have oceanside, we have forests and mountains. I often enjoy being in forests, but I think that part of my inner landscape is ocean and water, as much as I am actually afraid of water. And there is something powerful and beautiful about a shoreline. And I know you appreciate that too, about being on water.
Oh, I'm all about the shorelines. Yeah. I don't want to be on water. I just want to be beside it.
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's where my heart and mind took me, to this cottage. And there's a giant window overlooking the water. I can see it. And I'm sitting in front of that window in a really nice chair, a really cozy, comfy chair. And I'm reading. And there's a fire going, so it must be kind of a chillier time. I actually really enjoy going to beaches when there's no one there, when it's colder, autumn or winter.
Yeah, beaches are too busy in the summer. They're not worth going to.
Yeah, especially if you want to go mindfully, and that's like if your mode is to maybe go read or go on a walk and sort of be present, or to just be able to freely air your grief and your life story without other people interrupting. It's really nice to go and with that solitude, And so, there's a fire burning and I'm sitting and reading, and I'm older. I'm much older than I am now, which is a really beautiful gift for me to have, my soul sort of give me this portrait of myself older and wiser, hopefully, than I am now. And so just seeing myself sitting there in that stillness, and it's just a beautiful picture. And I'm sitting and reading. There's a fire going. I imagine that it's a pretty small place, so I can picture that there's like a kitchen counter and a kitchen off to my left, and must be maybe some cookies baking in the oven. You start to imagine all your senses waking up, right?
Yeah.
And so,
how interesting that this arrived in your mind in one go, and it's obviously a very complete sensory image. And I'm fascinated that you're older than you are now, because aging is something that so many people dread, that they associate almost, it feels in our society like we almost associate aging with failure now, like you haven't done all the right things to somehow arrest yourself in time. Tell me about this idea of being older in your, I was about to say dream. It's not really a dream, is it? In your, I don't know, like perfect distillation of peace. What does that mean to you?
I have been through layers and cycles of trauma in my life. And I feel that as I'm getting older there, just being able to move more carefully and more considerately through those cycles with more love for myself, that I see as this process of aging. And it really doesn't have much to do with my physical state or, where I am at in that way, but it's that my inner world toward myself and how I'm holding it. Because for so many years being, growing up in a really fractured family, growing up Potawatomi, Indigenous, growing up within a really tightly constructed religious narrative, there was just so much shame, around my body and my being. And I want to peel those layers off as I get older. And I already feel that now as I'm heading toward my 40s. And so picturing myself there.
So young and fresh.
Picturing that, me in my 60s or 70s, still myself, but just holding that tenderness differently. That is really compelling to me. And I think that so often the sort of crone inside of me is reminding me of that and pulling me toward her. And that's really special to me. I think that there's a lot we can learn from them as they pull us toward ourselves and our aging selves.
Yeah. There's something very peaceful about the idea of having arrived in a place of self-acceptance. You know, she feels like the end of a journey almost, as you speak about her. Like at the moment, I'm in the middle of it, and it's hard and it's painful and it's bumpy, and my identity's in flux. But here I am resting in the person that I'm becoming. It's really beautiful.
Yeah.
Where are we in the world in this cottage? Because there are many different seascapes available. There are plenty of different choices. Are you close to home, or are you somewhere across the world?
I've wondered about this. Cape Cod is not far from us. We live outside Philadelphia, and so Cape Cod is 6 or 7 hours away. That's a closer one that I can...
I love the way Americans say that's not far. Like a British person would see that as impossibly far.
Like road trip, you know? Yes, it is true. That is so... I laugh every time I remember that reality.
We're not going there ever. That's too far.
Yes, that is a closer one. A short flight away is the UK from here.
I love the way you see that as short as well. I do not see that as short, my friend.
I know. Distance-wise, it's about the same actually. So works for me. I'm happy to go, and I've been traveling to Northern Ireland. I went to Scotland earlier this year, and being on the shorelines of those places, being in parts of the UK on water, all of that I feel really drawn to as well. And it's things. Some of it is moments I've not experienced yet. You know, it's just that. Sort of vision holding for where could this place be? So much so that it feels like one day, by some sort of, beautiful circumstance, I'll end up doing a retreat somewhere or doing something where I end up in a cottage by water, and I'll know, oh, this is the place. Like, this is the embodiment of that place I've been holding inside of myself.
Yeah.
I think that's a beautiful sort of dream for me to hold on to.
I'd love you to tell me a bit about Iona, because you spent time in Iona, or on Iona, I should say, this year. Somewhere I've always wanted to visit. Can you tell us a little about that? Because I'd really love to learn more about what it's like there.
I was there for a retreat, and it was a kind of a writing and story sharing retreat. I was there sharing about my new book, Everything is a Story. It was really beautiful. It was, it's very walkable. So there's a lot of places to go if you need to be alone. And there's lots of communal spaces as well if you need to be with people. And, for me, it was so beautiful to be surrounded by a place that has just such deep history. Of course, it's always interesting for me. Being Indigenous, I'm always looking for like the stories underneath the stories. So I'm looking for the Celtic stories or the pagan stories, the deeper stories of those who had been there and who engaged with the earth and nature in those deep ways. And I've been really thinking a lot and writing a lot about the elements, the 4 elements, and on Iona.
Yeah. Particularly in your children's books, which really explore the seasons like very strongly.
Yes. And on Iona, you could feel all of that. It was beautiful. One of my favorite days was taking a hike, a short hike walk up to Dunedin, which is a small sort of mountain on the island where there's a sacred well, one of St. Bridget's sacred wells there. And I remember as we were going up, I was going to lead a short ceremony, and my new friend, Alastair McIntosh, who's an incredible Scottish writer, Celtic writer and activist, was there with me. So we were leading this time together for this small group of people. And as we were walking up, I just felt the presence and the voices of so many beings, the rocks, the wind, the water, the air, the ancestors of all those who had been there, the ancestors of those beings in nature. And I was overwhelmed with presence. And that was really beautiful for me, because it was you know, when you go to new lands and new places, you want to hold that humility of being a guest. And I felt that there. And it was just really beautiful to sort of bear witness to the stories that are speaking so loudly from the rocks that are beneath your feet, or these stones that have been placed in certain ways, or this well that has been used to heal and care for people for centuries. Like, that's so beautiful to get to encounter that and hold space for it. It was overwhelming, and I'm really grateful to have had that experience.
I wonder about, as we're thinking about a retreat, like, would that be your choice for a place to rest? That sounds quite stimulating. Would you choose a place that had those layers and depths for you, or would it feel a little clearer, I guess?
Yeah, I've realized about myself that I even at home when I'm working, I have to dance between being in my head and being in my body. That I don't do well if I stay in either one for very long, for health reasons, for my mental health, for all of it. So I'll work for a while, and then I have to go have movement, go on a walk, go exercise, make sure I eat something really tasty. Then I can maybe come back and do some more work again. And that dance is very essential for me. So in a retreat setting, to have quiet, to be able to be alone for long periods of time, but then to be able to go places where I can move and breathe and be outside, be on a walk, engaging with others beyond myself is also really important. So I've realized it's best for me to be in places where I can have both, so I can do my dance, my regular dance.
You can find that balance by swinging between the two. And so there's other people around, although you have your cottage to yourself, I think, with its beautiful picture window. Who are those people? Like, who would ideally be there for you to feel rested? Is it people you know, or is it kind of exciting new strangers, or maybe not too exciting?
That's a good question, and I feel I feel the pull to both, because sometimes it is really nice to just engage with strangers for a moment, to share stories and then leave it, and just let the stories linger inside of us or on the air. That can be a really beautiful thing. The anonymity almost of just showing up to each other's stories for that moment and then moving on. But I definitely love one-on-one conversations with friends and family and people that I trust. And that's really important for me. I find that even when I'm alone for extended periods of time, I need some conversations over the phone or, texting someone that I love and trust. That really helps ground me as well. So I think that I would need a few people close by. A few years ago, when I finished writing my book Native, I told my family I need to go to a hotel and lock myself in for 2 days and just get this done, because I knew I needed to get out of my surroundings and get somewhere. But this area was still in Philadelphia. It was like 20 minutes from where we lived, and I would work all day long, and there was a boardwalk where you could go on a walk by some water. So I would get outside and go do that. And eventually, I'm by myself working so hard. I asked them to come and meet me there to go on the walk with me. So then I get to see them. We go on a long walk together, but then they go home and I go back to my room again.
Right. So so I was about to say it's like a prison visit, but maybe that's a bad analogy.
Yeah.
just come and see me for an hour or so and then go again.
It was a nice thing to have the touchstone, but then go back to what I need and to finish what I need to finish. And retreat can be interesting that way, and having, what do we need at the time? Do we just need the pure solitude, or do we need those touchstones?
I think it speaks to how complicated it is for mothers to retreat as well. I mean, your kids must have been quite small then, I guess, when you were writing Native. And there's, I don't know, there's that push and pull, isn't there, of being desperate for your own space and unable to access it. But then when you do access it, it's hard. It's hard to be without them. Like, there's retreating is never uncomplicated again, I think.
Yeah, my kids they're 12 and 14 now, which is such a different space. And I went on my first, retreat outside the U.S. Last year, and was gone for 10 days. And then the Iona trip, I was gone for a little over 2 weeks. And, so I'm learning how to do that. They're learning how to do that. This is all a new experience for us, the extended time. But I'm really grateful for it too. And as writers, at least for me, I need that depth of quiet. I try to get it every day in ways that I can. But obviously, that image of me in the cottage is, I'm telling myself, this will always be important to you, to have the quiet of a quiet morning with a cup of coffee and a book and a journal and a fire, or, that'll always be a need for me in the world.
I'm really curious about you saying if there were people around you'd be telling stories, because obviously I have it here, your lovely book, Everything is a Story. It seems to me that telling each other stories is way more interesting than making small talk. Like, so often we meet new people and we talk about the most uninteresting things. And it made me think immediately of this man I met at an event a couple of years ago, who looked me in the eye and he was like, right, I'm going to tell you my life story to show you how it's done. And then after that, you're going to do that back to me. And that's how we're going to get to know each other. And I was a bit like, okay. But it was amazing. He went through his personal history. I was born here. My parents did this. I studied this at college. I met my wife at this point. We've got 2 lovely children. I did this, and here I am today. Now over to you, he said.
That's amazing.
And I was like, but it was fantastic, because we could have wasted that 10 minutes we had together saying really boring and inconsequential things and being polite to each other. And he had just decided that he was going to shortcut that, and that actually let us not meet on shallow terms. Let us meet immediately on deep terms. And as I was telling him my story, he wasn't very satisfied with it. I wasn't very experienced in it. And he was like, so wait. No. So what did your mother do? So when did you go here? Like, and it was great. And I've really not forgotten that conversation. It was an act of shared storytelling.
I love that. And actually, how precious that is for us as authors, the kind of authors that write about our own stories all the time. It's very different to be sitting in a conversation with someone that feels reciprocal, where you can just speak your story out loud, but not to narrate it or to try to write it. We're just sharing it, just to share it with someone. And that's a real gift, because I know I'm constantly writing my stories down, and eventually they're for consumption for others. And so to be able to just share in a moment parts of your story with someone in a different way than you might, with different depth and different meaning, is such a gift.
I think that, we both meet so many people. And that true art of storytelling, but also of story listening, because that's also what he did in return. He didn't just let my story wash over him. He was asking inquisitive questions, and I want to offer that to your retreat, because I think these people who are around, who you're not seeing all day, but you're gathering in the evening to share a story, maybe around a fire, that would be kind of nice. I hope that they are inquisitive storytellers and inquisitive listeners. So how are you going to eat in your dream rest? Like, are you the kind of person that rests by preparing food for themselves, or a particular kind of food? Or are you hoping that there's a canteen here?
Both. I have, this is another thing that I've learned throughout the years, because I didn't grow up in a family where I was taught to cook or to enjoy food in that way. Food was more utilitarian, I think, than for the creative process or the enjoyment. And so my partner, Travis, loves cooking. And so as soon as I got married young, and I wanted to learn to cook, but I didn't enjoy it until I've gotten older and have needed to eat I have a chronic illness, so I need to eat healthy. And that has given me a really beautiful sort of portal into exploring food in new ways. And so if I were to be somewhere long-term on my own with a kitchen and access to that, I would love to be able to spend time slowly preparing meals and enjoying them. And then on nights where I want to get out, I would love to go and take a book and sit alone at a restaurant and just read and journal and eat a big meal.
I love eating alone at a restaurant with a book. It's
nice.
Such a luxury. As part of your, you've entered into this long exploration of your Indigenous culture that you have, it's been like a personal archaeology and going back past your generations, really. Has that included food? I wonder if that's changed the way you've eaten as well.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a few years ago, I started incorporating this like wild rice dish into especially our like holiday celebrations. Our winter solstice it's a wild rice dish with berries and syrup. So it's like sweet and savory, but very filling. And to just go back to wild rice, because that is one of our traditional foods that grows on water and that has this really sacred meaning for us, and just holds, and syrup as well, to be able to put syrup on and have the berries and eat that is such a gift. And I'm learning how to do more wild rice dishes, how to incorporate that into my everyday life. And every time I eat wild rice, I think of us and my ancestors and who we are still in the world, in a colonized world. To be able to connect to a traditional food is such a gift.
You said it's got a symbolic meaning. I'd love you to tell me about that.
I think just the beauty behind manumin, that is what we call wild rice, that the fact that it grows on the water, that was one of the things that we looked for as we came to the Great Lakes, was the food that grows on water. And so to find this rice, this plant that grows on water, and the whole process of harvesting it is such a long process that I've never been a part of, but get to see people from my tribe participating in that, and then being able to harvest that rice, for me to be able to buy it from Indigenous brands that have harvested in traditional ways, is such a beautiful practice. And it just speaks to the beauty and power of our relationship to land and to medicine, and the ways that we gather foods as medicine, our relationship to it, and that you have to go to the water to get the rice, I think is just, again, speaks to the power of water and how much it gives us in the world.
There's so much water washing around here. It would kind of foraging for your own food be part of your idea of a rest, or would that just be too much if you're trying to take a break?
I feel like I would need a guide. I would need a guide with me, and then I would love to try, but I would want to do it in the right way. There's a lot to learn with foraging.
You don't want to be like slightly worried that you're going to poison yourself. It's not very restful, that. It's not relaxing. Okay, I think that's a very sensible position to be taking, actually. I mean, we could invest you with like magical knowledge of all that
ahead of time. Let's go for it.
And zero anxiety about any of it. Okay, so one of the questions that I ask people is there something you would bring with you from home to this retreat? It could be practical, or it could be comforting or symbolic. What item do you need in order to really feel at home?
Certainly my journals, because I journal every day, and may need to bring the current journal I'm writing in plus my last few, so that I can continue to kind of see where I've been over the last little while.
Yeah.
I read 2 to 3 books at a time, slowly, like chunks, so I would certainly want some of that. Authors I've been reading lately are John O'Donoghue and Clarissa Pinkola Estés, who the pairing of the two of them is actually so beautiful, because
interesting kind of combination. Like, one is about finding wildness and one's about finding deep peace, I would say.
Yeah, but they they pair so beautifully together, and that even just entering into myth and story and the presence of that, cycles of seasons and getting older and aging, all of that, I just feel beautifully in both of their writings. So I think I would maybe take some of that with me. And poetry books by Billy Collins, who's one of my favorite poets. I would probably have a few of his books around. And then I have, to write, I have these little altars set up. There's one here on my desk of items that are just really significant to me, that remind me of sort of who I am. And I think I would need to bring along those items and set them up and have them there sort of ready and waiting for me.
Can you describe your altars? What kind of items go on there?
Right now I have a lot of acorns and some stones. I have this stone that I got on Iona, and it just looks like the cosmos, which is so gorgeous.
It's so beautiful. I'm going to attempt to describe it for people listening. It's kind of triangular, isn't it? A smooth, fat triangle with this incredible circle, like dark. It's pale grey, but with a darker circle and then a small circle inside. There's something about it that's a little like an egg.
Yeah, that's
circle.
true too.
Or maybe an avocado.
Yeah.
That's a really good stone.
It's really beautiful. And you can sort of see the spiraling of the lines if you look at it closely. And so that's just a reminder of the cosmos in which I exist. And then, just little items that were like gifts from people, or stones or rocks or things that remind me of a certain season in life that I want to be reminded of, I think that's, I have multiple little stages of things everywhere. And I think that when I write, I just need to be reminded of who I've been and where I'm headed, and those help me kind of hold that.
So would you always go on retreat to write? Would you have a project that you'd be wanting to work on, or would you ever
I think
not be doing anything?
I think I need to be able to count my retreats for quote unquote work, because I think that's just where I'm at in life. And as a writer, taking a writer's retreat, not just a retreat, which I know is unfortunate, but that's the way I feel.
It's why we're traditionally very hard work to live with, I believe, that we never stop.
Yeah, but at the same time, I love writing. I that is how I process the world. So I couldn't imagine going anywhere and having space to myself and not writing and reading and holding that space. I can't imagine that. So I would certainly know that was coming, but I do really enjoy being able to have a project I'm working toward, have some topic at least that I want to write on and explore as I'm in a place, and then sort of hold that.
And as well as your books that you've brought with you, is there another cultural artifact that would inspire you? Like, are you someone that looks at paintings or listens to music to get warmed up, or what's your kind of like cultural landscape that you like to walk through?
That's a great question. Yeah, I listen to a lot of music when I write, and when I travel to places to write. Music is just a huge part of my whole family's life. There's always music playing somewhere in the house. Music has always meant a lot to me. I probably would appreciate having a place that has a piano, because I play every day and it's a different creative flow for me. That's again the embodiment part. So to be able to get out of my head and just go and play and sing is really important to me. So even now, anytime I have a trip somewhere, I always wonder if there's a piano nearby that I can play, or a guitar, but usually a piano. And that's a gift when there is one. So on Iona, there was one in this room. And when I knew everyone was in the chapel service, I would go and play piano.
Just see, is it something that would you feel self-conscious if people had watched, or are you happy to share it?
No, I don't mind if people listen in, because I'm I'm just playing like covers of songs or things that I've written that I'm just sort of practicing. And I've, in a past life, I was a worship leader in our church. So I'm used to singing and being in front of people. And so I enjoy it when there's a few people that come and listen and share, things that they enjoyed about it, or playing songs they might, cover songs they might enjoy. That's a lot of fun for me. So
that's lovely. And tell me what songs you're playing. I mean, are they, is this upbeat? Is it sacred music? What are you going to play?
I usually look up music. Coldplay songs are really easy for me to play because they're in the right key for me. So I do some of those, and they're slow. Gregory Alan Isakov is a kind of singer-songwriter from Colorado here in the U.S. Glen Hansard is a singer-songwriter, has some really beautiful music. Oh my gosh, I'm trying to think of who else. It's a lot of just the quiet, and then sometimes I'll play some, faster or louder songs. And then a lot of it is just me. Sometimes I take my poetry and just put it to music. So poems I've written, I just try to play them and sing them. And that's a really fun practice for me as well. So music is just all around me. And I think I write about music in all of my books because it's just always been a part of my journey.
Yeah.
So
it comes
certainly
up,
need music around.
Are you someone that can write with music on? I mean, I absolutely cannot. I have to have complete silence, and I get driven crazy by, my husband, who's always wanting to play music in the background. I'm like, no, turn it off, turn it off. Can you listen and think at the same time?
I can. And I think that's because part of that, I think, was writing at coffee shops so much. My earlier books, I would go on Saturdays and go to a coffee shop and just write for as long as I could to try to get them done, and so the background noise, I think I've gotten used to how to hold that. But I do often need music that doesn't have lyrics in my own headphones, like instrumental jazz or something that, if it's songs I know really well, the lyrics start to distract me when I'm trying to think for myself. So that gets tricky.
Yeah, it's difficult, isn't it? Like I'm okay if it has no words. I think I can't not listen to the words. I think it's writers, isn't it? We're obsessed with words. And so if someone's saying words, I'm going to fully process them and everything else stops. But I know other people who, can listen to podcasts and write at the same time, for example, or listen to, full songs and still concentrate. I think music is really engrossing for me. And if it's playing, I'm listening and I'm not therefore writing.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting how our senses are such a part of our writing process, of what we hear, what we see, what we smell, how an environment feels. It isn't always easy to just show up in a place and be ready and willing to write. Sometimes there are certain elements we need to make it feel retreat-like enough to really show up to words and to that space.
That's made me think about your original vision of this cottage and talking about it as a complete sensory environment. So how does it smell and how does it sound? Like, what are those? I forgot to ask about all the senses. I asked about, what it looked like, but that is only one of the senses.
Yeah. Well, and it's interesting because I lead people in these like safe space exercises where I have them find a place inside of themselves. And I ask them this, what do you smell? What do you see there? What are your senses doing? What does your body feel like, And so in this image of me, I am just safe and held and cozy. And, I'm just in my element as a writer and reader. I hear the fireplace, so it's a crackling fire. I imagine I probably have some jazz music playing, especially when I cook. I do love to listen to jazz. And I imagine I don't really make cookies that often, and my oldest son is the baker of the family, so if he's not there, I'm probably not eating cookies, but cookies do smell good. Otherwise, I'm, baking a chicken and veggies in the oven or something, something savory like that just smells like a warm cooked meal.
Delicious food is wafting through. It's very homely.
And I have some coffee next to me. That's always like, my mornings for me are so important to just sit and have coffee and read a book or write in my journal and just hold that space for a while before I venture into work. That's really, really, really important for me. So to have that space somewhere for as long as I need it is such a gift.
Yeah, it's lovely. I think we need a buffer, don't we, as writers? We need to not bounce straight into work, which we're often tempted to do because we're like, I've got stuff on my mind. Or actually, I think we're often driven by slight fear. I mustn't get behind. I must keep up with this schedule that I've set for myself. I need to keep producing. And sometimes those pauses are the most valuable part of the day. The time with coffee and a book, or reading someone else's essay, or listening to someone speak. I have to remind myself to do that sometimes. I'm in such a hurry.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'm someone who really feels that fine line between like positive and negative stress. I can go from having a really exciting, like really great writing morning to all of a sudden my body's like, you've had too much caffeine and you've been not breathing properly and you've been sitting at this screen for the last however many hours. Like, it's time to leave the room and turn everything off and go be embodied for a little bit, go eat something for a little bit. And so, being able to hold that and pay attention to our own bodies and our own being as we write is, it's trickier than you'd think. I know a lot of writers who are like, oh, I forgot to eat lunch today. And so they just kept writing.
I've never forgotten to eat lunch in my entire life, I think.
Yes, it's not common for me either. I'm often thinking about food, but for some people, they just miss, like we miss those cues.
Yeah. They get so deep in that they just carry on through and then realize they're really hungry and thirsty and yeah.
Things like that. I want to practice my work in a way, whether I'm at home or alone, to practice it in a way that feels like I'm nourishing. But when we have those spaces where we can be alone and pay attention, it comes easier.
Well, this has been so lovely and cozy and calm. Like, there's this lovely sense of calm. How do you know when it's time to head home? Like, are there signals that you recognize in yourself when you're now done and you're ready to return?
Yeah, I think it's the longing for routine and nesting. Every time I come home from being away for work, especially if it's longer trips or if it's a really stressful trip, but even for a treat, when I get home, I just want to nest. I want to fold laundry. I want to clean up my spaces and be back in my office and organize things so that I'm here again. Get my workspace back to what it usually is. So I know that when I'm like longing for that and wanting that it's time, and of course, when you go at first, you might not miss people and places much, so that lingers back because you're so excited to have that breath of aloneness, and then you are kind of missing the familiarity of home, and I think it kind of pulls us back again. So I can usually really feel that sense of wanting to be back playing cards with my partner Travis and drinking coffee with him, or just laughing and talking with my kids, or being with my dogs. I miss them a lot when I travel, and wanting to just have those touchstones of home is what pulls me back. Yeah.
So you're pulled back by this craving for home and this craving for your own life and routine again. Is there something that you bring back with you from this retreat? An idea or an item? Like, what do you bring home?
It's always funny to me how long it takes us to process being, the presence of a place. Like when I was on Iona, I still haven't written some of the stories of things I know I experienced and I know I want to write about. Like I just haven't accessed them yet. I haven't spent time being there in my mind and remembering, you know. So for me to have items like this stone, like to have items from places to remind me of them is really important. Now, I'll also say as an Indigenous person, and I wrote about this on Iona about the asking of permission when we take even a seashell or even a stone from a place.
You have to ask the stones, yeah. And they soon let you know. Sometimes they even jump out of your hands.
These are the things I brought home from that trip, and there's only like 4 or 5 things.
That's beautiful.
And I remember we went to a beach one day, and they were like, we're going to do this activity where you take a stone from the beach, and it represents something, and you're going to throw it back into the water. And when we got there, I walked up to these stones and I heard them all being like, we don't want to go back to the water. We've been on the shore. Why would we go back to the water? And so I felt almost, I didn't make people, stop doing this important ritual, but I just sat down with the rocks and just touched them and held them and just, listened to them before I chose anything. And it was like just allowing them to say, we've been here for thousands of years. We've been holding this space and here you are on your journey, but just notice our voices before you engage, just see us as we are. And I think that's always like part of it for me is just saying hello and greeting and being that humble visitor, So to have that consciousness is important, but I find it really beautiful and meaningful to be able to come back with a piece of art from that place or something from nature from that place to remind me of the journey so that later when I need to access what I couldn't access in real time, I have something to hold, something to stare at to be able to get back there,
So like these little points of kind of storytelling connection almost.
Yeah. Which is, I think a lot of us do that, whether we realize it or not.
Yeah. Well, I think we tell stories through items, Storytelling is actually a very physical activity. And we yearn to do it through things, but we've been trained to think that it only happens on the page. So we don't understand that physicality anymore, I think. Well, I hope you find a really lovely stone, like the perfect stone that encapsulates exactly how you felt. And I just want to say thank you very much for taking us with you. It's been really soothing. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Can you hear that? The crow's going over. I love a good crow, particularly in winter, when they silhouette so beautifully against the winter sky. It's completely white above head today. And there's 2 of them sitting in a completely bare tree. They look fantastic. I've made it down to the sea. The tide's out, very far out today actually. A lot of people are very disappointed when they find the tide out, but I love it because the seabed looks all silvery from a distance. And the tide will come back in again, sure enough. I hope you enjoyed that conversation with Kaitlin. I hope you found it as soothing as I did. She's a very restful presence. And if you'd like to learn more of her work, there are links in the show notes where you can check her out. She is a wonder. And we regularly have little writing chats, which I very, very much enjoy. I am actually feeling really positive about this new year. It is no secret that last year was a rough one for me. And this year, I'm starting with some optimism. I'm raring to go. Lots of projects, lots of things to do. Hope it feels that way for you too. And I'll be back in a week's time with another conversation that delves deep into rest. Very different author to Kaitlin. I hope you will join me then. And just a heads up for those of you listening for free if you're finding the ads a bit annoying. All the paid subscribers to my Substack newsletter, The Clearing, get an ad-free version in their inbox every week. So if that feels better for you, it is indeed available. However, you are most welcome to carry on listening free as well. It's good to have you here. You take lots of care now, and I'll see you soon. Bye.